After that, we have completed defining the key activities that is involved within the project. After looking to the WBS, and we have identified all of the activities that is involved when planning the schedule management. Now it's the time to move to the next process, which is sequencing the activities. Sequencing the activities is an important step in project schedule planning. Once we have the comprehensive list of all of the activities, so the next task here is to define the order in which these tasks should be executed. Sequencing ensures the logical and efficient workflows. It minimizes the delays and set a foundation for building a realistic project timeline. But what exactly is sequencing activities? So, activity sequencing is the process of arranging project tasks into a logical order for the execution. It identifies the dependencies, such as which tasks must be completed before others can begin. Proper sequencing ensures that work progress efficiently, reduces the resource conflicts, and prevent bottlenecks on the project execution. The key inputs here we have is, well, these are the ITTOs that we are looking for this process. The inputs here is the project management plan, the project document. You may refer to the, let's say, defining the activity or activity list that we have created in the previous process. Tools and techniques we have here is the precedent diagramming methods, dependency determination and integration, leads and lags, and project management information systems that can be used to log all of these and track the, say, the progress in each of these activities. And the output here is the project schedule network diagrams and the project document updates. So we are gonna explore what exactly these new tools and the new output which we have network diagram. Let's now look into the key types activities or and the relationships between these activities. So we have four main, let's say, types of activities. We have finish to start, have start to start, finish to finish, start to finish. So activity relationships define how tasks interact with one another. The most common relationship is finish to start, where one task must be completed before the next begins. Also, start to start relationship enables a concurrent tasks, while finish to finish relationships synchronize the task completion. Start to finish relationships are uncommon but applicable in unique scenarios like handovers, for example. So these are the key, let's say, types of activity that you need to consider when sequencing these activities. A very important topic that is considered one of the key tools that is used when sequencing the activities, which is the precedence uh, diagramming method, which is PDM. So this diagramming method can be considered as a graphical tool that, let's say, finds the logical sequence of the tasks. Nodes represent activities, while arrows illustrate the dependencies. PDM simplifies complex schedules and makes it easier to visualize and analyze task relationships. It's an essential tool for identifying the project critical path and optimizing the timelines. Now let's understand the, let's say, the dependencies within these activities. So we have three main key types of dependencies, including mandatory dependencies, the binary dependencies, and external dependencies. To start with the mandatory one, But first, let's understand what dependencies mean. So, dependencies dictate the sequence of all of the activities and fall into three categories, as we said. So, now let's go into each of these categories. The first one we have is the mandatory dependencies, which inherits the nature of work. For example, pouring the concrete before farming. So, it's a mandatory activity that has to be done before the next activity. Next one is the externary dependencies, which defined by the team for efficiency. Example, let's say scheduling review. The last dependency here, which is the external dependencies, which is outside of the project control, such as the regulatory approvals that you have no control over. Now let's understand these two main new concepts, which they are very also important. Lead and lags. Lead is which allows you to overlap the tasks. For example, you know, let's say starting painting before all of the walls are built. Lags, which adds a delay between the tasks. For example, you need to wait, let's say, 24 hours for the paint to dry. So leads and lags add the flexibility to activity sequencing. Again, a lead enables overlapping tasks. So you can do two tasks at the same time without, let's say, any dependency. For example, painting the wall. At the same time, you might, let's say, purchase any goods that is needed to be, say, used once the paint is built. So there is no dependency here. So you might able to understand that there is a lead here that can be utilized. However, the lags introduces a delay again, such as waiting for the material to cure so you can, start painting the wall. So you cannot start painting the wall until you buy that materials too. These tools allow project managers to adjust schedules for efficiency while respecting tasks dependencies. Now let's have a quick understanding of the sequence or the steps to sequence activity. So here are the key steps that you might follow when sequencing the activities. So sequencing activities involve several key steps. First, you need to review the activity list and the attributes to understand the scope and requirements. Next, you need to identify the dependencies to determine the task relationships, whether it's mandatory or finish to start or start to finish, it's finish to finish, as we have explained in the earlier say slide. After you identify the dependencies and you say determine the relationships, you need to use the precedent diagramming method to visually map these relationships. Finally, you can apply leads and lags to fine tune the sequence for maximum efficiency. Some of the common challenges that you might face when doing sequencing the activities, including, let's say, misidentifying dependencies, which may result in a rework or delays. Also, overlooking the role of leads and lags that can lead to inefficient schedules. External constraints like supplier delays or regulatory requirements must also be factored in to avoid any disruptions. Here are the best practices when doing activity sequencing or sequencing the activities. So, the best practices in sequencing activities include engaging stakeholder to ensure dependencies are accurately identified. Also, you may do a regular validation and updates, which is considered critical, especially in dynamic projects. Utilize scheduling tools like project management software to automate the activity sequencing and identify potential conflicts or optimizations. Summarize our session about defining the activities or sequencing the activities. So, in conclusion, we say that sequencing activities is essential for creating a realistic and efficient project schedule. By leveraging its ITTOs such as the activity list and the precedence diagramming method, project managers can define logical task relationships, incorporating leads and lags for further optimizes of the sequence, ensuring that the project progresses, progresses smoothly and meets its deadlines.